So let's talk about the battle of ideas, because in the US, as far as I know, there is nothing that goes on like this, which is why I hopped on a plane when I was working at Monsanto and flew over to see what you guys were doing. But for people that have never seen a battle of ideas, don't have a concept for debate because it's not a part of our regular culture.
So we try and take the big issues of the time and work on panel discussions with people from all sorts of perspectives. On over one weekend, I think we have over 100 panel debates, 300-400 speakers, and 1,000. And it's a public event. So the other thing is, it's not professional. It's over one weekend. We cram it in. At any one time, there's 10 or 11 debates going on. You can go into which one. They're not formal debates. They're not for and against. But they're attempts at saying there are always different perspectives. You might learn something if you kind of listen. And we also have a USP of saying 50% of the time will be handed over to the audience. So it really is a very lively public forum, and we've been doing it now, I think 15, 16 years, and it's just grown from strength to strength. Our slogan is free speech allowed, and that didn't sound very radical maybe when we started it, but as time has gone on, saying that you support free speech even has become a controversial thing to say. And we've tackled a lot of the issues around the culture wars, but we also have strands of debates on the economy, on science. We've been concerned, I suppose, about things like the precautionary principle, risk aversion, but everything, you could be discussing Beethoven in one room at one time and then go on and talk about GM crops another room.
When I was there, what I found was, at first you look at it and you're like, oh, those are the debates I know about, right? Whether it's GMOs versus something else. But you get into like the weird recesses of the world where you have a mom come in and talk about how sexual assault laws put on minors made it so her son that urinated in public is now considered a sex offender. And you're sitting there being like, am I supposed to be hearing this? I don't think you're allowed to talk about that. But then there are thousands of people around you that are excited to engage in the debate in a way that you can't do normally.
Yeah, I think that we've tried to, without playing the kind of shock jock role. We don't go for kind of having being outrageous, but we know that if you dig deep underneath a lot of subjects, there's conversations that people want to have. They want to be able to ask questions about controversies around, trans issues. They know there's a line, they know there's a position you're meant to adopt, but they don't really understand it. Can we have this conversation? Can we challenge some of the orthodoxies? And I think that that's all we were trying to do, is to create a space for public debate where you would not be shut down by somebody saying, I find that offensive. But on the other hand, people really did believe when we started this that it would lead to kind of riots and chaos and everyone shouting at each other. But actually, it's not like that either. It's a perfectly civilized, lively public exchange of views. I mean, it's not even that radical, is it? It's what the public square should be. It's like town hall meetings as they should be. But obviously, over the years, there's now so many things where we know in the back of our head, you can't say that. It's kind of an internal censor. You shouldn't say that. Don't ask that question. Oh my God. So we go for collecting together the best speakers who've written really interesting articles from all around the world with different perspectives, who we think have said something that will make people go, do you know what? That's such an interesting thought. I'm going to now speak myself and ask a question or make a point. And that's what we do.
One of the talks that I remember is Lenore Skenazy. I can never say her last name right, but she talks about a concept called free range kids. And I remember thinking, like, this will be boring. Kids are allowed to go outside and play. Why is this a controversial topic? And she started talking about the mothers that were arrested for letting their children walk to school on their own or playing on a playground by themselves. And you start to hear people in the audience say, I tried to bring this up in my PTA and I was booed down. And that's when you start to realize that what you're doing, Claire, what the Academy of Ideas is doing, it's so, I don't know, it feels dangerous but special. Why in the world did you get into this world? Because it is all danger for you, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily a great career move in the sense that I could probably be earning a lot of money and so on. It's a bit controversial, but I was a teacher for many years, and actually, and then I took a rather extraordinary a decision to take on temporarily, I thought, publishing a magazine which had been called Living Marxism, because I'm a lefty, which I know immediately, well, people will be going, oh my God, what's she going to be
Wait,
like?
what was it called? What was it called?
Living Marxism. And we relaunched it. Exactly. We relaunched it as LM Magazine, which was supposedly beyond left and right. We were nodding. I mean, so I'm from a left-wing background, but a form of left-wing politics that I think is far removed from the kind of leftish social justice warriors and the identity politics obsessives of today. And, we could have an argument about left and right, but, it was a different kind of argument then. Anyway, that's what I did. And one of the things when I was teaching was I was very aware of the fact that I taught 16 to 18-year-olds, was I just didn't feel that they realized that there was more than one side to a story, and they were being reared in and socialized into a society that was dominated by spin doctors who were kind of refining what people said, so you had to follow the script, which wasn't legitimate, what didn't encourage intellectual introspection or bring politics to life. I felt that the newspapers were being gutted, and there wasn't enough good journalism. And I also thought at the time that the universities were beginning to close down open debate and academic freedom was under threat. So I thought, right, I'm now publishing this magazine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do live events and see what happens. And they just sold out every time. So at the end of publishing the magazine, which was another story, in 2000, I launched what was then the Institute of Ideas to full-time put on debates and see if I could do something with it. And we've managed to survive small operation, punch above our weight. I became better known. I didn't ever go back to teaching. I became a media commentator, as people do as well. So our brand became known, and the main thing was through word of mouth, because we've never had any resources or money or anything. So we were never one of those kind of big festivals like that. But through word of mouth, people started to hear about us all around the world, and we were able to put on eventually things like the Battle of Ideas Festival and monthly debates and so on and so forth. So it's been a great ride, but also hugely important to give people a voice. I think one thing we've learned in politics in the UK and America, and people talk about the populist moment, is that many people don't feel they have a voice. They haven't got anywhere they can go to talk about issues, to raise concerns. It's confined to a pretty limited group of people. And so the other thing is that I think you could say, without in any way box ticking, we managed also to attract a very diverse, socially mixed group of people to our events. So you really could get, working class families coming down from the north of England, which is kind of like the equivalent of kind of going Rust Belt, or like people who wouldn't normally go to an intellectual festival, and they more than held their own with graduates and postgraduates and the top universities, and all ages as well, not aimed at young people, but lots of young people come. But you can have an 18-year-old and an 80-year-old having a really lively exchange over a debate around whether we should topple statues. That's what we do, and we do it well.
Thanks for checking out this podcast short. If you're interested in the subjects that we're talking about, or the idea of how do you get better at communications, you may want to consider joining the Articulate Ventures Network. There, listeners like you can meet other listeners from all over the world. You can put up talks that you've given to ask for feedback and ways to improve, and you can even take courses that'll help you become a tangibly better communicator. That's the Articulate Ventures Network with the link below.